This is the JAB Show, and it's your life by design.
Welcome to the JAB podcast. I'm Joe Abbas Mangora. I've never ceased to be amazed by the power of leadership, the power of one man to move nations, the power of one man to cause change. Now, obviously, you've had the stories being told about the power of numbers, because it takes numbers to move nations. But the biggest power is who moves those numbers. And that there comes the power of leadership. John Maxwell says everything rises and falls on leadership. And I think it's Professor Kwame Ajay, Ghanaian professor, that says leadership is the cause of all development. All else is effect. So I am sold out on the power of leadership. And not so far-fetched that we're talking about Sierra Leonean leadership when it matters, right in the shores of our own country, Sierra Leone. When we come back, on the show today, we're hosting one of the most outstanding leaders we have in the banking and financial industry that have made so much change, not just in his life, but in a major institution in the country. Stay with us.
I like optimism because it brings possibilities alive in your mind. I can do it.
Dr. Walton Gilpin is a seasoned and internationally recognized financial expert with over 30 years of experience managing complex policies and processes in banking and banking-related institutions in Africa, Europe, South Pacific, Caribbean, and the USA. He began his career as an economist at the Bank of Sierra Leone and then moved on to serve as an advisor to the Commonwealth Secretariat in the United Kingdom, where he managed significant financial initiatives and contributed to sustainable reform strategies across more than 38 countries. His most significant recent achievement is in leading the transformation of Bukwe Commercial Bank from traditional banking to a modern, digital-first institution, and in the process, growing the bank's profits from 1.5 million new loans in 2016 to 65 million new loans in under 2 years. All leading to national and international awards, including Commander of the Order of the Rokel in 2021 and African Banker of the Year in 2023.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Dr. Walton Gilpin.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the podcast. This is not the first time we're sitting down.
No,
and so let's go back to, when did we first meet? Was it 2017?
Yes, around 2017. Yes.
You just took over the leadership of the bank. Mm-hmm. Paint a picture of what the status of the bank at that point in time. What did it look like?
Well, I think the bank was actually reeling under the weight, of its disappointment within itself, under the weight of, should I say, poor leadership, and maybe the weight of the lack of innovation and drive. And the bank needed a push forward from all aspects of it. And when I came in, I thought to myself, I needed to have somebody that can help to drive a leadership vision in the bank, to motivate staff that they can be who they want to be, to get staff to understand that this bank resides within the center of the business district. It has a history of almost 100 years then, at that point in time, from Barclays to Rokel, and the individuals who were then working in the bank had already been here for lots of years. So they had the institutional knowledge. What was required was a push from the top. And then, of course, I had been seeing you, I had seen you on YouTube, I'd heard about you, and I said, who is this guy who speaks so well? This guy who can articulate, this guy who can move mountains by just speaking the word out there. And I thought I had to reach out to this individual to see if he can come on and just push the concepts in the minds of staff that, yes, we can do it. The institution can become great again. We need to take an inward look and see who we are and see what we're made of and see how we can start moving, running, and pushing forward again. And then I got in touch with you, and you kindly obliged to come out there and start the fire going. And I must say, you're one of the guys that lit the flame that helped to push this bank to where we are today.
It got some point in time where in leadership and in organizations where people even stop believing that change is possible. Particularly, so I remember when we started that workshop that you had, you brought staff from all over the country. I can't remember maybe whether there was a first, that had ever been done before. And I remember one of the stuff we dealt with was, we started painting the picture of how great local, then the Barclays Bank was. It was one of the biggest banks in the country. I mean, it ticked all the boxes in terms of excellence.
Yes, yes.
And then the story went in terms of the war, how he went down, and then, you know, post the war, everything just nosedived completely. And one of the points I think I emphasize is people made Barclays great. It was the people. It wasn't just the building. It wasn't just the fact that you have computers. No, it's always down to people. And I said, so people made it what it was then.
Yes.
And maybe people brought it down.
Yes.
And people can raise the bank up again. And here we are.
Indeed.
Just 7 years. We have 7 years. Just 7 years. In short, 7 years. Now, so tell us, this is where we were. Tell us what you're so proud about that has been achieved at Awukele Commercial Bank at this day.
Well, I think the bank was in a paradoxical situation wherein, as the poem, the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner says, water, water everywhere, and yet not one drop to drink. So there's potential everywhere, and yet nothing to show for it. So the bank was really rolling down the rocky creek and was about to hit rock bottom. And everyone in the bank was budgeting, anticipating, and looking forward to the closure, the demise of the institution. We were closing down branches, and staff were told, I think, last in, first out. And so the mentality was, we can't make it, we can't do anything. It was a bank that was very traditional, it was very people-centric. It was a bank that prided on operations. So traditional banking, you know, amateur banking, I know how to push the system on and how to check the signature against the invoice and those kind of things. Some paperwork, you know. And whereas banking had evolved tremendously, you know, it had gone more into the digitalization through introducing systems and portals. It had gone into risk-based type of activity, gone to better strategic formulation. We need to modernize how we did banking, what we knew about banking, and how we can go out there and improve on our customer service as it went on our marketing strides. So really we're in a bank that was in a steady state, now maybe even in a retrogressive state. And it was a bank that the staff themselves felt that, look, there's no point continuing here, and quite a few had left. And so they jumped ship. And those who were here were waiting in fear that sooner or later I'm going to lose my job. And the perception of being a failed entity meant that the entity was made up of failed individuals. And so once you go out there from a failed entity, nobody's going to really regard you quite seriously. And so even the potential to, the possibility of having another high profile job would have diminished from these individuals. So that's where we were at that particular point in time.
Did the bank benefit from a bailout? Did the bank had to get a bailout from the central bank at that point in time?
Well,
not ICB. I know a couple of one of your brothers next door got a bailout from the central bank to just keep the bank afloat. Wasn't that not the same case for?
Well, there was some capital injection into the bank by the government, and so that really diluted the ownership of the private shareholders. Government at the point had 51%, and the private shareholders had 49%. It was a capital injection, I think, around 2013 or 14 thereabouts, that made it government owned 65%, and the average shareholders owned 35%. But with the capital injection, you needed also stability, and you needed a vision from the top to push things to make it happen. You needed staff to believe in themselves, and you needed also strategic decisions to make an investment in the area of investment. And these things were really there, but somehow were not seen. So you had to have a horizon of possibility right there in your mind. You had to have the foot soldiers who can take you along that journey, and you also had to have the belief in yourself that this can happen. Because why? You had to get people to believe in you, to come and invest their money and transact with you. But first of all, you have to believe in yourself that I can do it, to demonstrate to those out there that I have got confidence. I can manage your stuff for you. And I also know that through it all, I learned to trust in God. You know, I learned to put my hand in the hand of the Lord. So God, take me through, and I pray that you can make it happen, and then you work hard to make it happen. So working hard, believing in yourself, and trusting God, and holding out there makes a big difference. So I also utilize the skill sets I had, and I thank God Almighty also for the confidence reposed in me by the potential shareholders who actually thought it fits to allow me to take the ship through. And so gradually started moving out from where we were to where we expected to be, and in the middle, how we were going to get there was also well defined. Now, did people believe it could happen? No. Were staff sure it could happen? Some were not. Did people think that this was going to really work out? It was like Noah's Ark. See, God told Noah to build an ark, to build it big and wide, and to round up all the animals and put them all inside. Only Noah was righteous, only Noah trusted in God. Only Noah believed it when God said there'd be a flood. So when you see the possibility out there and God speaks to you, Go out there and make it happen. He said, God, help me to make it happen. You have to believe that it could happen. So indeed, it was like a Noah kind of act thingy. Brought all the animals inside, those who were here already. Brought some new people in. And then you had the God looking out there and saying, okay, let this guy take the ship across and let us see it go. So putting in sound principles, sound banking principles, sound economic principles, putting in techniques, and having staff reassigned, realigned, observing particular indicators, and growing the bank is what we did. And today we are where we're at, by God's grace, by hard work, and also by self-belief.
And to talk about the rebranding, it's funny. Where did the idea come about the rebranding, and how did we get to choose what this new branding should be like?
All right, yeah.
Because sometimes people think brand are just colors.
Yeah.
You know, why would it have been significant to do this? But tell us where this came about.
Like someone can say, what's in the name?
What's in the name?
Call it Jesus.
What's in a color?
Yeah. I mean, you may not be a righteous person.
Yeah.
And I came on board here with the simple instructions: go out there and try to fix that place. I had no clue as to what I was going to meet. You can read up, you can talk to people, but you need to come in there and fall into the grind, and then you know the pain it feels to get grounded. And so we were having a meeting right in this office one day, and we looked up to the calendar for the date of the next meeting. And on the calendar, I saw the logo, the old logo, and I said to them, what does it depict? And nobody knew. It looked like a jigsaw puzzle put together. What does it depict? Nobody knew. So I said, look, first of all, we need to understand what our logo depicts. And they have to go out there and make it happen. This is a bank. We need to have a logo that has a financial look. It looks modern, and it looks like a bank. Somebody sees the concept out there, they want to come and see what's in it. And so they asked me, why change the logo? I said, we have to rebrand. We need to change the whole perception of this bank in the minds of the people. Got to take it out from what they call a granny bank or a Creole bank or a traditional bank to a bank that is modern, that is digital, that is secure and safe, and is sound, and has a vision that goes over the horizon of the next 10, 15 years. And so we thought we needed to change the logo. I decided to do some homework about the logo. And the logo depicted the mountains, the valleys, and the river Roquel. And I thought, okay, that's for the Ministry of Tourism, more than for a bank. You know, that's my view. With all respect to those who designed that logo back then. I said, look, we need to change this thing and start changing the way the look and feel is. And the Senator Barclay said, look, when we jettison our relationship with you, you should no longer be associated with us. So we had to drive away the fact.
You could no longer use the name. You could no longer use
their
anything
colors,
that was
everything.
To
You had to break off from Barclay. So I thought, okay, well, I'm coming in almost 20 years after Barclay's left, about 17, 18 years then. So I need to show that we can do it as Sierra-Leoneans. That's our thinking. So I found a committee to put the logo together, and we gave them the concepts. We want to have a logo that shows a futuristic bank, a modern bank, that's easily to define what this is. And then we needed to get the principles out of this logo. So we got the RC Bank, and we had to decide what colors we want. So we had the Phantom Blue, which is a blue, although at times seems slightly diluted. Phantom Blue, which was a kind of deviation from the original blue.
The original blue.
Yes. And then we had the gold. That is to depict the pristine and quality that we're looking, the pristine service and quality deliveries that we're looking towards bringing out. And so I got the Phantom Blue and the gold. And the RC Bank, just a bold statement of who we are, the Roquel Commercial Bank. And so that's how the logo was formed. Now, the change of logo came a change of mindset. Now, you already had the traditional bankers who were here, and you had the younger ones that were brought in. Now, how do you get them to think positively? You had one to teach, to preach, to share a vision. So you as the leader, you have to have a vision. You have to believe in a vision, and you have to share it. So even changing the logo, I was slightly skeptical that I would have been told in the local parlance, we said you go there for make bank, to make it can't change the logo for. You know, my friend, get out there and do your job.
Go do the job.
Yes. So I had to present it to my shareholders, both the prudential and the private shareholders. And with the prudential, I got myself together, put the file together, or what I was doing, and where I'm at now, where I intend to go the next few months, where I intend to go in the long term, show the indicators and everything, and look at it and said, okay, if you believe in it, go out there and have it done. Wow. I had a breath of relief.
You got that.
And then we go to the AGM now, and we show it to the AGM, and they're like, why do you want to change it? They spread it all the folk. And I give an example of somebody walking down the street, okay? A nice lady walking down the street who looks haggard, who looks old-fashioned, and who doesn't have any iota of style and finesse. Nobody looks at her twice. She goes away. And then here comes a lady who's not even as beautiful as that one, but is well branded, dresses well, has the poise, has the walk, has the look and feel of a modern trainer. Everybody's going to follow her right to where she's going. So just by branding yourself, people look at you, take a second glance at you, and you become a head turner. Now, I need a bank that can be a head turner. So see us, feel us, and come in and see what we can offer. And when we walk up to you to market to you, wow, this is the bank, let me listen to them. And then we can sell to you. But if you're old-fashioned, you're dolly drab, nobody's going to want to look at twice. And even to get the first look will be difficult. And so that's why I branded it. Now, after that cosmetic change, had to be the realism of the change.
I'm happy you're using that word because it's just cosmetic.
Yes.
To translate that into
it's quite significant.
Stuff. I know.
It's called packaging. Yes, it's called packaging. Now, that's why at times African products don't compete.
Yeah.
Because they don't, maybe better quality, but they're not packaged well.
Very well.
You see, so packaging makes somebody take a second look at you. That's why I always say we're building a brand, a concept. So when you walk into any branch of Royal Commercial Bank, you have to have a feel that you're in that brand. Look at, for example, Starbucks and Costa Coffee in the United States. When I used to be there and have dropping of the ball every December 31st in New York, people ask you if you have a Starbucks cup in your hand. Where did you get that Starbucks? All right, say, okay, go down the block, make the first left, second right. One is right there. Quickly run to get a Starbucks. Why? They're out of state. They could have got a Costa Coffee or any other kind of coffee, McDonald's coffee, but they want a Starbucks coffee because of the brand of Starbucks. So you need to understand that even though we're in this country where at times it seems like organized chaos, you got to rise amongst those people right up there by having a brand. And you have to preserve the brand image. And that is what I think we did. Now, the numbers started to speak. Okay, with all that
let's
change,
talk about the numbers.
Okay.
Because ultimately, it has to be the numbers that
yes, because this is a financial institution.
Once you go back to the shareholders at AGM, they would say, okay, show us the numbers.
It is pro profit.
Yes.
And people have invested in this institution, they need to get dividend and shares. Now, when I came in July of 2017, I found the profits as at end 2016 at then 1.5 billion wholly owned. Okay. Estimated growth would have been about, I think, 8 billion for 2017. And I found the figures about 3-point-something billion in July when I came. So looking towards 8 billion. Maybe they've done 6 and you moved from 1.5 to 6 billion at that school. So I came in July of 2017 and we were looking for 8 billion. We're about midway that and we had another 6 months to go. And there were some strategic decisions made in investments. Some swaps deals were done. Of course, more treasury investments, try to market. We had to spend a lot with branding and all that stuff. But to cut a long story short, from that, about, let me say, 3-point-something billion in July 2017. At the end of that year, we made 65.3 billion.
65.3.
Yes.
So you said the projections were
8
billion.
They were 8 billion.
You ended up having 65 billion.
Respect of the expenses we did to the rebranding, the costs we had due to expansion, and all those things. We're still growing, you know. And I believe, and I know you believe, I don't know what you've been told, what I believe in my mind is that in this particular locality called Sierra Leone, a local bank should dominate, should be strong and sound, and it should be a bank that
we didn't used to be the case.
No, it was never the case. You know, you walk into the country and all the foreign banks were the banks that look trendy, they look modern, they look focused. And we felt that we cannot do it. And they felt that these guys, the joke. You know, we come to their place and we just dominate them like that. And that's what the average Australian believed. Did the job, you go to one of the foreign banks. You want to look trendy, go to one of the foreign banks. Want to have an account and bluff, go to one of the foreign banks. And so the local banks were seen as, even not the second, third, fourth best, they were seen as not amongst the best. Okay? And when you have a situation like that, you lose your independence in the financial sector. Totally lose it, because it's now completely manned by foreign entities, with all due respect.
Yes, so 2017, 65 billion. Take us from there.
From there, 2018, about 80-something billion, 2019, 90-something billion. Now we're looking at this year, we want to make over 300 billion. But still, the sector has grown. Other banks are making that kind
of... Over 300, okay. I know other banks, okay.
Yes.
We've not started referencing other banks.
Okay,
Just take IC Bank in terms of...
Yes, over 300 billion now. But within that, we've done a lot of transformation with costs, quite a lot, which other banks will not be doing. Okay, we've changed our core banking system. Quite expensive. We've gone totally digital. Also, those are fundings. We've expanded
when
our
you say
branch
totally digital,
network.
what does that mean?
That means we have a mobile app now. We can do all the transactions online. We connect to Orange, we connect to Free Money, we connect to EDSA, we connect to tax payment, we connect to MOP tax. So you can do transactions just over the top of your head by using applications. We're the first bank to really be fully compliant for the instant payment switch with the central bank is working on right now, and we're ready to go. Right now we have the universal QR code on our app. You can scan that app and pay to any bank that is already on the network. We take the lead in providing solutions when it comes to the digital space, and that I think we pride ourselves in big time. And we also have a core banking system which is real time, 24/7. We have products and stuff that we give out, like our prepaid card. You can go anywhere in the world, you can transact with it as long as there's a Visa sign right there. And so you are confident that as a customer of this bank, when you walk out of the shores of Sierra Leone, you can do transactions seamlessly. And we also have a very good 24/7 type of customer service and help, which wasn't there before. And we also have staff who have grown in confidence also. So we participate in international seminars, we participate in international dialogue, in national dialogue, and we're recognized now globally as one of the leading vehicles in the financial sector in Sierra Leone. As the financial sector is made up of 80% banks. Okay, you have insurance companies, you have stock exchange, suppose you have microfinance, non-deposit taking and deposit taking entities, but banks make up 80% of the financial sector. And our bank is positioned well in that sector to take part of the top brass, take that position right there. And when we speak as Rokel Bank, people listen. Because we've demonstrated that we are a modern bank and the personnel can also articulate banking concepts quite well. Banking 101 is operations. Beyond that, you have the strategy analysis. You have to understand how you formulate theories and policies, how you modernize the bank. And you start thinking about Basel 2, Basel 3, endgame Basel. And then you take yourself to the international arena of banking. Mm-hmm. We're not really where we want to be yet.
Where?
But that is at the international apex of international arena of banking, because you work within an environment where you have constraints. We have things which are endogenous to us and things that are exogenous to us. What's endogenous to us, we can try to manage and build on that.
But yeah, once those, you have to deal with those forces.
You have to deal with those forces. But we're doing our best to get there. We're a local bank. We don't have any godfather sitting in Abuja or in Johannesburg or New York to support us. We
all have to be here.
Design, we develop, we disseminate. And we all have the same critical eye of the regulator.
But you have some advantage in terms of speed to action.
Well, I don't think we have any more advantage than the others, because the others have the same speed wherever the head offices are at. And then they disseminate to the different countries.
There will be bureaucracy later in there. But never mind.
I don't think so.
Even from what you've said, it's very, very impressive. This is the JB podcast. And today my guest is the Managing Director of Local Commercial Bank, Dr. Walton Gilpin. We've already gone through how he got to take the saddle, and how we met for the first time in 2017 in a situation where it was hopeless in most benchmarks that you'd like to review in terms of how well this bank was doing, and the power of leadership and building the teams is what has brought IC Bank to where it is now. But let's look at this. Has definitely not happened without challenges.
Oh, yes, I'll be that.
So let's go to a few. Just go to a few of the challenges, because the toughest leaders is not really how high they rose, but what they had to overcome to get to where they are. Give us a few of the challenges that you have had to overcome to get to where we are today.
Well, I'm not saying most of the challenges were internal challenges.
Internal.
Resistant to change. Just link for power. You find a status quo which has been established for a while, and they resided on what I felt was a big basket of inefficiency. And in order to have that changed, you need to explain the concepts to them.
Communication.
Right. And then you will hear stuff like, Dr. Soblandua. All right, that's not how we normally do it. And Usain Komo, or he thinks that this is our World Bank, or this is not Mauritius. And those kind of sarcastic comments tend to percolate down to some extent to the rest of staff. And now when you have that type of resistance, they're saying he thinks this is Singapore, he thinks this is Australia, because I've worked in all those countries, you tend to see that, look, I need to overcome these things. I have to be thick-skinned, all right? And I have to let them know that this could work. With all due respect, if somebody's walking to school all the years and they say, look, I can give you a motorbike, I can get to school in 3 minutes as opposed to 30 minutes I take walk. Initially, you might say that's not possible. Then give me the bike, I may have an accident. Or ride it, I may not know how to ride it. So the waddle and the problem is why they look for solutions. So they understand, look, I'm solution driven. I have no monopoly of knowledge, yes. But within this confine of where we find ourselves, I think I am the most exposed. And I have the best inkling to bring in change. So walk with me and let's do this together. Listen to me, scrutinize my ideas, let's work together to make this happen. And that took its time, to happen until ultimately you realize that it's either you come our way or you go the byway.
Was there any point in time where you felt this was too much? This is absolutely beyond what I was expecting, and you felt like giving up? Was there any moment?
Yeah, I mean, the times when I felt really down because of not because of the volume of work. I like walking because of the fighting, and the hit backs. They were really strong and resounding, and only by the grace of God, I was able to survive. And they're fighting for power. They're fighting to go back to the status quo. They're fighting for resources. They're fighting for what they were used to. And that's not what the shareholder wants. The potential shareholder said to me, go and build the bank. And that is really the government of Sierra Leone. And I'm here working for them, and they're happy about it. So the issues came from within more than outside. Outside was very happy with what they were saying, but inside thought, no, we need to go back to this pie. And I believe that what is there for the people should be there for the people. If people cannot grab and everybody else suffers, let us be able to have dividends, make profits, pay the shareholders, and then employ staff, pay them their salary, give them the benefits, export them to training, and then have retained earnings to push the bank forward. So when you're gone, ultimately we'll have to leave. We can leave behind a strong institution. So Chile would not say our fathers have eaten sour grapes and now our teeth are on edge. We want to be able to leave them something that's vibrant and strong and that they can all be jolly about.
Again, this is the JB podcast, and my guest today is Dr. Walton Gilpin, and he is the Managing Director for Local Commercial Bank. Stay with us.
This is the JB Show, and it's your life by design.
Welcome to the JB podcast. My guest today is Dr. Walton Gilpin, Managing Director for Local Commercial Bank. We've just been going through the story of what it took to turn around a bank, one of the oldest, most reputable bank in Sierra Leone, that got to the point where it wasn't doing well at all, and but turned it around. We're looking at the power of leadership. What does it take to be able to be there? One man, you need a team. It's not like he turned the bank around, but it would always take a leader to shape. John Maxwell says, like I repeat the quote again, everything rises and falls on leadership. And Professor Ajayi says, leadership is the cause of all development, and all the rest is cause. Leadership is the cause of all development, all else is effect. I'd like you to take me up on that. You need people, but you first have to have a leader to drive and make all the change. I believe that in my core. And you were recognized for this big deal, big progress you made and then you were given, you were recognized nationally. Tell us about the award and what it really meant for you.
Well, I mean, the award was phenomenal. It was a real boost to my.
What was it?
It was the Commander of the Order of the Rokel.
Commander of the Order of the Rokel.
Yes, the COR. And that was one of the highest national honors that is bestowed upon citizens of outstanding achievements, and we've contributed significantly in an area, dedicated towards national development. And so I felt really touched by that, and I thank His Excellency the President for considering me for that award. And I also said to myself, to whom much is given, much is expected. So I had to also try to continue working harder, after that particular award. So that really stimulated me and pushed me on to keep on going, just like Johnny Walker, keep on moving.
You keep walking. So let's look at what I said I was going to do today. So spend some time to look at, because the secret of men are in their stories, says Bishop David Oyedepo. So let's look at this. Let's look at some of the things that it's for these. It's actually these guiding principles that I could pin a lot of the stuff that happened and how I was able to get to how you were able to bring the bank to where it is now, together with the team that you built. Now, so let's look at the first one. One of the stuff you've always said, even with the statement you've made earlier, even up to now, you mentioned about your faith in God, and you said that's been part of key in this process. Sometimes it's a cliche. and it's just a word, it's just a phrase that anybody can use. But what does faith mean for you, and how has that been, relevant in this journey? Maybe not just in the RC Bank, but your journey so far in life.
You see, it says, train up the child the way he or she should grow, and when they're old, they'll not depart from it. So I had a good, sound Christian upbringing, wherein the principles of the Christian dictates were embedded in us practically. Mm-hmm. My parents accepted Christ very early in their lives, and they brought the whole family up to be God-fearing. Now, this meant that we prayed a lot, we read the Bible a lot, and no one is perfect, I must say, but we really understood the principles of Christian living. And so that means understanding the scriptures, knowing what the Word of God says about your life, understand the grace that God can put upon your life. Mm-hmm. And with that, we just live by that. And even when I traveled all over the world, I traveled over the world with the grace of God in me and with unmerited favor. You know what is called commanded blessings and unmerited favor. And that's what I think we have. And we just look up to God's word and we work hard. So now you need to be able to also get your normal carnal training, as it were, what you learn in the worldly. Your
technical expertise.
So yes, so you build up
your banker, your finance, and how to do those projections. And
yes. Then you add God's grace to that. It's a lethal combination. That's all.
It's a lethal combination. It was said about David in Psalm 78, 72. He said he led them by the integrity of his heart and the skillfulness of his hands.
Exactly.
That's godliness and the skillfulness of his hands. Because, sometimes it's so easy to downplay. And both of them are important. And you'd like to think, if I'm godly, it's my spirituality that takes me through. I need not know and get the skillfulness of hands. So tell me how those combinations work for you. On a moment-by-moment basis. You come to the bank in the morning. It's not just about saying your prayers and stuff. You have to know the figures. You have to know if you receive a report and you read the report, you see the KPIs and what they're saying, you have to know what it means and what's next to do. How does that combination work as far as you're concerned?
I think it just flows quite naturally, because Timothy studied to show thyself approved, the workman fitting unto God. So ever since I was in uni in Fairview College, I knew that scripture. You have to study to show thyself approved, both to God and to man. And so over the years I've done this. It just became like second nature. I worked on economies. I worked on budget formulation for economies. I worked on sectors. I was able to do strategic analysis. And so it's just second nature. Like you're doing something you like. They send you to go to country A and go and consult, and they say, okay, your job is to look at the fiscal sector, your job is to look at the banking sector. And you do it just out of like second nature because you've been trained to do it. You've done it over and over in the beginning. Think of the professional footballers. Like Messi or Ronaldo or whatever. They go out there, they just play. It just comes naturally. And they're paid a lot to do it, and they enjoy doing it. So the same.
When does prayer come in? When do you know that this is beyond intelligence? This has to be spiritual. How does that interplay takes place?
I think when you get to difficult times more, people pray more when they have problems. But when you look back and you see that, oh my gosh, I just did like this. I know you have the natural ability to do stuff. Mm-hmm. But then there is that hand, the unseen hand, that moves economies, that moves people, and that's if you believe in what I believe, for crying out loud. And you dedicate to God, and you go out there and you articulate a concept, and you're amazed at your ability to articulate so well. I come back and say, thank God for doing it. I give an example. Way back in my previous incarnation as a consultant, I went to do a seminar in St. Kitts and Nevis, and I went there with a British consultant, and I was working for that company then, and the tutor for the next day didn't show up. And he came to me and said, Walton, can you help me out to do this thing? We had to do insurance and estimating the probability of default, different methodologies to do that. And I said, that's not my area. I said, well, you're here, you're the economist, I'm the technical guy, you have to do it. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? I said, God, can that guy come overnight, something like that? And immediately he called me, you have to lecture tomorrow morning. I'm like, okay. I sat on my bed and prayed. And I took out my laptop. I have a lot of resources on my laptop. And I identified what I wanted to do around 2 a.m. I walked up to 7 a.m. My presentations, read background, everything. 7 a.m. I went for breakfast. I went to the gym. I came back and prayed and went to the classroom. When I finished lecturing, the participants asked me to help them supervise their thesis on that area. I had 5 hours of reading. That, I believe, was divine favor. Yes. Eventually, the guy said to me, Walton, thank you for what you did. I said, no, it's God. He said, well, thanks, your God.
Yeah, thanks for your
Thanks
God.
to your God.
Now,
you know.
so how many times even now do you still have to do all-nighters now? You don't.
If to prepare for jobs, no, I don't take that long anymore.
For your, is there anything you've done over the last 12 months, 18 months that have had you to pull an all-nighter? You don't.
No, not that long.
You have a big team to work with.
Not that long. No, I mean I can do midnight to 2-3 a.m. But I don't do up to like 7 a.m. anymore. Except sometimes if I have to preach, and then I wake up around 4, and then be up to 8. But no.
Okay, principle number 2. You say you're an optimist. And and he says, be an optimist, give the world a smile.
Yes.
When does optimism cross the line to, just being presumptive and not facing reality?
Yes, you can be a pessimist or in between. I mean, most people will be in between. All right, that I think makes more sense. But to be a perpetual pessimist, I think negates a lot of things in life, my view. I like optimism because it brings possibilities alive in your mind. I can do it. And a song, I Believe I Can Fly, always ministers to me. And the scripture about Daniel, having in him the attributes of excellence, that made him serve 5 Babylonian kings, including Nebuchadnezzar, also resonates with me. So I'm like, God, there is a spirit of excellence, is there? You give to Daniel? Hey, help me with that one, Lord. And that makes me become this optimist, because I know that I can go out there and you can see possibilities. At times you face reality, it's just not going to work. But more often than not,
if you have a positive, optimistic mindset, you would see solutions.
There you go.
See solutions rather than the obstacles.
And that's why I have the 3 A's. I say your attitude and not your aptitude determines your altitude in life.
Most times it's not your aptitude.
Yes.
It's your attitude. And like you had this, overnight call, you have to do a lecture in the morning. It was much more your attitude to say, it's possible, I can do it.
Yes.
That's where it starts.
Yes.
And then you say, okay, let me pull together all the materials and I have. That's when I think maybe aptitude follows after attitude.
Yes. Because in that one, there was a theory by methodology called the Ando-Modigliani methodology. It used to estimate the probability of default. The first time I ever saw it, and that night I mastered it. Up to today, I can do it. The Ando-Modigliani estimation for probability of default in the insurance sector. And so I lectured on that one because I believe that I can try and get it done. So that's about the attitude.
Principle number 3 that has got Dr. Walton Gilpin to be where he is now, it says, never stop learning. Never stop learning. Tell us about that. How did you get to learn this principle? And give us some practical applications.
Principally, you have to interact with individuals from different backgrounds, different professions, almost on a daily basis. You meet people out there who are ordinary people, almost on a daily basis. You have to understand the way they think, the way the world operates, and how I could be able to relate to people in different spheres. Then your area of expertise too, because the moment you stop learning, your brain dies. The moment your brain dies, you die. The moment you stop learning, you get left behind in the wider concept of things. Of course, with age, you slow down naturally, but make sure every day I can learn something. I like reading a lot. I like listening to podcasts. I like to.
What kind of books do you read at this stage? What kind of books?
Almost any book. I can take a religious book and read it, a book on principles of Christian living and read it. I can take a book on economics and read it. I take an article and read it. I go online and look for articles and read, and then I like to do online courses.
What did you read this morning?
This morning we had a meeting on the budget, so I had to read just remember about budgeting. It didn't take me that long though, maybe about 30 minutes, 45 minutes I had finished, And then there was also another article which I read on the global debt, with not only on local public debt, on the global debt, and how on the global GDP, and how global debt is almost 93% of global GDP. And that means that once you have that kind of debt, then most of the resources are going towards extinguishing debt. Mm-hmm. They have enough funds to put into social services and creation of facilities and
so when you say global, was this reduced by the IMF or who?
Yeah, the IMF. Yes, I love the IMF.
So you read every day.
Almost.
You listen to a podcast. What kind of podcast you listen to?
I like TED. I listen to TED almost all the time.
TED Talks.
Different TED Talks.
Which was your most enlightening TED Talks, if you could?
The one who said the attitude and not the your attitude and your aptitude, defines
your altitude.
That was quite a motivational one. There was another one also about, I think, the guys that do the electric motor cars, and they also gave a quite moving talk. And so those
the best book you've read?
The best book I've read, it was called by Paul Collier, called The Bottom Billion.
The Bottom Billion.
Yeah. I mean, although we have a lot of African economists that disagree with him, but that book really opened my eye a lot to why things seem to be failing with the bottom billion. Yes, and then of course, I used to read a lot of novels. Robert Ludlum, one of my best authors, and then Warren Risby was my best Christian author.
To have a never stop learning attitude, you have to be teachable. You have to be humble, to even amongst colleagues, to say I don't know this, and be willing to learn.
Yes, I mean the times when you need to understand that this seems to surpass my own potential, and nobody has a monopoly, like I said prior to this, and then you can learn to listen. But what I don't like is when people waddle in the problems. They want to bring the possibilities out more than the potential for a possibility in that particular circumstance, and they say, I don't want to hear that. And that's why I fall out with people. I like people to be optimistic about stuff. Let's see how we can make it work, and don't celebrate the problem that is not making it work. That's different.
Now, practice self-care is the next principle. Now, what does self-care mean to you?
It's like when I used to see you walking on the beach, having the exercise.
And I still struggle every Saturday morning together. I try to drag my daughters to come along with me. Unfortunately, I haven't succeeded. But I drag myself there every Saturday morning. I still can't lose weight as much as I'd like to. But anyway, it's a discipline. But tell me about your own self-care.
The times in life when your body worked for you, when you're younger. As you grow older, you have to work for your body.
Okay.
Although everything is going to go south.
Tell us what I mean.
Exercising.
Okay.
There are times when you can just jump up once. At times when you get older, you have to make 2 efforts to get off the chair.
To get off the chair.
Then you know that something is not right. So it's about getting what you like doing. Getting the kind of food you like, getting the kind of exercise you like, going on holidays if you can. Doing the things that make you happy, and then also keep your body and your mind, alert and fit. So don't forget about yourself. Look after yourself, because that's all you got. You got one thing at life. So learn to take care of yourself.
So people think you're selfish, you don't care about other people, that's why others are suffering all the time. You're way, way better than them, so you should just be caring and taking care of people all the time. What's your response to that?
I think that means you are encouraging laziness. I said to somebody one day, they said I have to get to the junction to take a cab. It's a long walk, so I take a bike. I said, just walk to the junction. It's not far. So, how would you understand? He was in the big car with air conditioner. It's in the air conditioned office. I look at the young lady and I said to her, where were you when I was walking up to Fabric College? Up that hill. Where were you when I was walking to school until my shoes would get busted?
Where did you stay at Brookfields, I think you said?
At Brookfields. I walked to Fabric College. Brookfields, I walked to Prince of Wales School. And Fabric College is up the hill. There are no bikes. No motorbikes. After work, I walk in Central Bank. I take Poda to go home. Then Poda taxi. We didn't have these Okadas and Keke. Where were you? When I come home, I don't find anything. Everything is eaten. I will take gari, soak it, put salt and palm oil and eat it. Where were you when I was building up myself? If I don't sit today in a big office and a big car, the Almighty will ask what a useless man you are. You cannot ride it. You cannot have even an air-conditioned car. So at that point in time,
don't tell me that your story started with palm oil and gari.
No. We had a relatively good life. But what I'm saying is, when everything is done,
you have to find whatever is available.
Whatever is available.
That's what you go for.
You manage that. Maybe I was in school. I was in uni. We go to college and we put rice in the pot, a lot of water. They call it patty. They both schoolboys, and they put 1 spoon. We all eat with that 1 spoon. We call it patty. 1 spoon. So if today you've gone
the spoon goes down.
Yeah, it's just there. You come and take your spoon, you put it back. I will be studying and doing that. So we started off from the basic and we grew up today. So nobody will say you're selfish.
So self-care is not being selfish.
No, not at all. You look out for yourself.
A lot of time, I listen to the analogy they make on the plane. They says, should there be a sudden loss of cabin pressure, oxygen mask will drop from the ceiling, and says, fit your own oxygen mask, fit your own mask before you help somebody else.
Yes.
And so self-care is very, very important.
Very, very important.
I agree with that. Let's move to the next one. Principle number 5: be kind to others and follow passion. Follow your passion. Be kind to others.
Yeah, I believe in.
Do we still have kindness in this world?
Yeah, we do.
Does kindness sometimes come to bite us again?
A lot of times.
But do you still need to be?
Not
can you still continue to be
everybody
kind?
is grateful. People are very ungrateful. You help them to turn back and back.
So can you still continue to be kind?
Yes.
Why?
Because that's my nature. You know, I mean, if you look at every bad we've done to God, God will never be kind to us as mankind. So irrespective of the fact that people who have done good for, have helped, turn back to stab me like big time, in this generation in Sierra Leone, I've seen it so many times since I came back in 2017.
And you can't wake up in the morning and say, I have somebody, I hold this against somebody, I can't forgive them. Is that, would there be any that you could think about at the moment? They've hurt you so badly, and he said, no, I can't.
I leave God to speak on that. Honestly, I hold it against you.
You don't have anything you hold against anybody as you sit here thinking.
I have people who've done me real bad things. Very bad things. That's all of you might know about. But I have nothing against them. We may not get along anymore.
Why wouldn't you? Is it faith, or is this just a decision you have made in your mind that it's not helpful? It's not helpful at all to have that negative energy in your life. What's this about?
I believe in the principles of forgiveness as a Christian. I believe that the good word said, forgive 70 times, 7 times. Just means forgive as many times as you can. And God
When do you respond? Is there any moment in time where you would say, no, this is don't pass mark now. Let's when do you have to respond?
I just respond by shutting myself down from that individual.
You cut them off.
Yeah. So that's all I'll do. There's one.
That's your response. You cut them off.
Yeah, I cut you off. That's all.
So I hope there's something coming through to you today. And obviously, if you have questions based on whatever have been shared, feel free share those questions with us with the contacts that you have there, and we're definitely coming back to you. This is the JB podcast, and I'm Joe Abbas. My guest today is the managing director of Commercial Bank, Dr. Walton Gilpin. Now we're actually trying to round up, and we're rounding up my guest today, Dr. Walton Gilpin, who's done very tremendous work turning around local commercial bank with a team that is built around himself, and we're looking at some of the principles that has been part of this journey, how we learned them and how they've been applied, and what results there are. Take risks, never take no for an answer. So let's deal with the first one, risks. That's the least things people would want to actually even consider. Nobody wants to take risks. Why do we have to take risks?
Those who don't take risks never develop.
Those who don't take risks
never develop.
And define risk for me. It's not just the banking risk where tell me what's risk from the practical everyday.
The practical everyday learning is going out there and doing something in which you may not be certain of the outcome, but yet still you have an expected outcome that would maybe be positive towards you. All right. For example, a very basic one is crossing a motorway. There are many cars coming in, you have to wave through them and cross. Not wherein you're not supposed to cross, but where you need to cross. Let's take the rockets, for example, the space technology, the race to space. United States, and maybe Russia, have got a couple of rockets explode, and they lost all the astronauts. But they didn't stop.
They kept pushing.
The Africans, we had the evil forest, and nobody will go in there because they say the spirit stay there. Until the white man came and cleared the whole forest and built a town there.
You're talking about things fall apart story?
Yes. It's like a kind of whole by Chinua Achebe.
Yeah.
Just one example. So you see the fact that we are afraid we can't take risks, it inhibits our ability to progress. And when you look at space technology, in the aircraft industry, the first aircraft built by the Germans caught fire. Everybody died. You really want to look like a balloon.
But you're learning from that.
So you learn from that.
Failure.
So in your individual life, I'm not saying I'm going to jump in front of a bus and see if I'll die. I'm not saying I'll jump from a ship and walk on the water like Jesus Christ. Those are risks I would not take. That's stupidity. But when I come to my desk and I want to make investment decisions, I call my team. Okay, I want to move this way, that way, that way. Okay, no, not so blandoam. No, go so. I said, no. This one is a higher yield, and that one is a less riskier portfolio. So let us be risk averse, or let us be moderate risk. And let's go in. You have you have people who are risk averse. Those who are moderate risk, and those who take risks. All right. So you take risks, but I'll put calculated risks.
Calculated risks.
Yes, because you have to take a risk into the unknown sensibly to get the kind of outcome you want. And once you've gone there, if you get burnt, you come back. That's why I like the rhyme. If at first you don't succeed, try again.
Try again. Reflect. What
then
happened?
your courage
What
will
did
be
I get
near.
right?
And then you'll persevere. You'll conquer, never fear. Try again. Don't shy away.
So you have to keep pushing.
Yes.
You have to keep pushing.
Yes.
Take risks. Never take no for an answer.
Never take no for an answer. Because I'm an optimist. No.
I was going to link the two again with number 2.
Yes. No is basically a pessimistic way of looking at things. This cannot work. Not so blandua. And I'm like, what? When I first got this job, myself and my team, oh man, we get it hot. So you come and give me the problems and you celebrate the problems. So why celebrate?
Oh yeah, they would only celebrate the problem.
Why tell me about the problem? What do you do to solve it? There's nothing. Why mean there's nothing you can do? Go back there and think and come and meet me again in an hour's time. An hour's time I've thought through it. I said, why do we do this? Ah, yeah.
So Mark Randolph wrote a book. It's part of. I think it's a biography. Mark Randolph is one of the founders of Netflix, together with Reed Hastings. And so the title of the book is "That Would Never Work," because he can't count the number of times he's come up with an idea and somebody tells him that would never work. And sometimes people are right, because the idea in that mode as it is wouldn't work. But unless you try it, unless you apply, unless you apply it practically in the marketplace, you get the feedback, you adjust. It took them 18 months of adjustment to get to the first model that got Netflix off the ground. But it is, I think that's the way you justify to what you say again. Don't take no for an answer. Don't take no for an answer. Take risks, but try and push on. Yes. Now, number 7, finally, don't burn bridges. How did you get to learn that? Have you burnt any bridges in the past that you look back and say, this is the worst mistake I've ever made, I'm never going to do this again? Tell me, have you burnt any bridges in the past in your back that you would look back and say, I could have done this differently?
No, I think I try to maintain a relationship with everyone I dealt with, from my school days, my uni days, and to where I'm at right now. I try to make sure that people I have grown up with, we can continue being friends. Even if we don't see each other for ages, when we see, we can click. You never know who you're going to be where, and who's going to be the solution for you, who's going to be a difference maker, who's going to actually lead you down a narrow path. So I just do my best to make sure I am at peace with everyone, where possible. Those who I have to jettison, because I know these ones will never be honest to me. They've hurt me so bad, they can never be my real friend. So maintain that connection and don't burn any bridge. So I don't think I'm aware they've burned any bridges, but others have burnt a bridge towards me, and I think this is it. You got to go. The Bible says as far as possible.
Be at peace with all persons.
Yes, as far as possible.
When do you know when it's as far as possible?
There is no real defined state. You just assess it
but you
based
know,
upon the unique peculiarity of the particular situation. Yes. You know,
where's the future? Where's the future going for you? I see bank, and personally as an individual. Where do you see the bank going, and where do you see yourself going?
You know, I normally say, there's a phrase that says, don't build the castles in the sky. I say build the castles in the sky. That's why you have to build and put pillars under them.
That's where it should be. It should be there, and then build the pillars too.
Pillars under them. So for me, it's like, I see this bank. It's not my bank. I'm just custodian for now. At some point, I got to go. But I see a bank growing beyond Sierra Leone. I see a bank growing beyond traditional banking into a more digital bank, as we've done right now, but connecting across the globe. I see it as a leading bank if you can continue this trajectory in the sub-region also. We've got to start somewhere, and I hope pretty soon we'll start sharing the country this footprint of an international bank. Yes. On my path, I leave it to the Almighty. to guide me and take me through. And the next step is up to the hands of the Lord. I just don't want to sit down and say, clap and clap foot. I want to be able to allow God to just guide me through. My sojourning in Sierra Leone in 2017 to now has been remarkable. That is only by grace. And I believe that, yes, the ability God has given to me, to be able to work with a team like this, to be able to go through the undulating plains, the roller coaster rides, is because God has a purpose for me. And I still seek that purpose from the Almighty as I continue doing what I do every day and waiting on God to just show me the next step.
What a way to wrap up this edition of the JB podcast. My guest has been Dr. Walton Gilpin, Managing Director, Okel Commercial Bank. I started off the show at the top of the show by saying, there's power in numbers. You vote elections, it's by numbers. But ultimately, at the end of the day, to drive change in life, it only takes one person, one determined person, somebody with a vision. Ultimately, at the end of the day, people would want to say, no, it wasn't just the leader, it's the people. And I agree with you totally. So the same way it took to make the RUF and build whatever carnage that happened in the country, it's the same way. It was one person. A few people, one person, even one person. Who do we give that name today? Is for this and call. It's one person. But it's the same way that the power of a leader that believes in themselves, believes in a vision for good, the same way it can be for evil, but believes in a vision for good, can shape a nation, can shape an institution, can shape a family. Now, I hope what we've shared today has been very useful to you. You have any question, you have any comments to make, please share that with us at all our social media handles, and we'll get back to you. Until the next edition of the JB podcast, stay blessed.
This is the JB Show, and it's your life by design.